And good evening, everybody, and welcome to Fairway to Heaven right here on DSM Media. This is the number one, in my mind and in Jason's mind, the number one fantasy golf and gambling golf podcast you can listen to. Forget all the other ones. Just watch Fairway to Heaven every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. We're live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Make sure you smash those like and share buttons, and make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. You'll want to make sure you head over to YouTube. It's the easiest way to interact, the DSM Media YouTube page. It's where you can comment and talk with us on the show. I can put your comments up just like that. Cam Smith fire last week at the Century Tournament Champions. That's the easiest way to interact with the show. We are brought to you here, as all shows on DSM Media are, by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming, the GOAT in below the waist maintenance. Check them out, manscaped.com. Use promo code DFS at checkout. Does two things. One, it gets you 20% off and free shipping. And then it also lets them know that Jason and I sent you from this show. So it lets them know to continue to pay us to do that great stuff there. We are also now this year, as I mentioned last week, we are partnered with Fantasy National Golf Club. All right, at fantasynational.com, at Fantasy National on Twitter. The easiest way to describe them right from their website. Fantasy National Golf Club is a private golf club for fantasy golfers. They don't make picks. They make world-class research tools that save you time and allow you to make better picks. They have stat engines, simulators, lineup generators, model makers, course breakdowns, head-to-heads, you name it, they got it. And let me tell you something. I mean, it's pretty cheap. $10 a week if you want to buy the weekly package, $30 a month, or just $250 a year. And if you sign up with them, just make sure you go over to Twitter at Fantasy National. Send them a little message. Be like, yo, we heard about you guys on Fairway to Heaven, the number one fantasy golf podcast there is. So we figured we'd give you guys a try. We'd greatly appreciate that. I'm sure they would greatly appreciate it as well. All right, now that the Bills are out of the way, again, I am Phil Stifle. You can follow me at Bearded Knowledge. And my man right here, Jason Sullivan at JSully2121. Good evening, Jason. Are you nice and bundled up in cold Detroit?
No, man, it's freezing here today. I know it's freezing in Philly, too, so we have something in common. But you know what was not freezing? Your pick of Cam Smith last week. You were all over that. You said he was your guy for this year.
I said he's going to win 3-4 events, and he just went right week one and just like, all right, I'll just win one of them right off the bat.
But not just winning. I mean, fending off John Rahm and basically just dominating the entire tournament, coast to coast. I mean, that was impressive. That was really impressive.
What did you say last week? The score would be somewhere in like the mid-20s, like 25 under. And what did he shot 34 under. That's insane. I mean, I don't know if has that ever happened in tour before.
I think it has a few times. I know they've been in the 30s a few times, but yeah, that was amazing. I mean, he just torched that course. Obviously, it was an easy course, but I mean, he put on a display. He had that one stretch. I don't know if you saw it. I think it was Friday where he bogeyed 2 holes in a row, and I'm like, uh-oh, the wheels might be falling off right now. And he just came back and just absolutely dominated. I mean, he was so good, and he kind of showed. I mean, he showed flashes of it in the past with the Masters. I think it was last year, and different flashes, but I just feel like he's so primed to take that next step to kind of move up to that elite level. I mean, the dude's a stud.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, coming into this year, he was like 23rd in the world rankings. I have a feeling, and I'm going to stick to it, and last week reaffirmed my opinion. By the end of this season, he's going to be a top 10 ranked golfer in the world. I mean, it's hard. It's not hard to go from 50 to 25, but to go from 22 to 10, the amount of big-time golfers you got to jump to do that, I mean, it takes a really successful season. I think Cam Smith is primed to do that. And this is another week where he is primed to have another great week. And we're going to get into this week's Sony Open in a second. But if we want to talk tournament of champions, the Century Tournament champions last week, we want to brag about Cam Smith, of course, but Matt Jones also. He set a tour record, 23 under on the weekend. And I think you have to give a little – hold on, I have a button here for it somewhere. A little clap there for Matt Jones, 23 under in 2 days. Man, I don't think I can't shoot 23 over in 1 day, let alone 23 under over 2 days. So I think that is definitely worthy of a round of applause there.
Well, that's the kind of guy that wins you a tournament, right, on DraftKings. You have him in your lineup last week. You probably did pretty well. I mean, it all boils down to that, too. We talk about Fantasy National, but another one is fan share. We talk about that all the time as well, ownership. I mean, Matt Jones was not owned by anybody last week. The stats didn't really pop for him at all. He's a good win player. We all knew that, but I mean, he just set the world on fire, and that's something that you can find over on FanShare with the ownership numbers and different tools that they have over there to find those sneakier plays like Matt Jones.
Yep, absolutely. I heard like one word there, and I'm not sure if it was a real word, but I think I heard "I'm stuck." I'm not sure. I hope he's not stuck at word. That's what I heard. Oh man! All right, so this week, it's the first full field event on tour this week, the Sony Open, and as I was talking with Jason earlier today, I was like, "You're going to have to say the course name because I look at Hawaiian names and Hawaiian words and I can't pronounce them." He gave me a really good phonetic way of saying it. Waialae Country Club. Did I say it right?
I think it's Waialae, but yeah, close, very close.
Okay. What's with all the A's? Waiala. I mean, there's so many A's and I's in Hawaiian words. You can't pronounce it unless you're from Hawaii. So Waialae Golf Club or Country Club. Beautiful course again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny because when I was writing my article for Fan on Sunday, normally you just type in the course name, you just keep going and going. I feel like every single time I type the name, I was like, wait, did I spell that right? I had to go back and look. Yeah, it's definitely a tricky one for sure. But those Hawaiians, they know how to do a few things. Apparently, build golf courses is one of them.
I love watching these Hawaiian tournaments just because every shot on every hole at every course is just so picturesque. I mean, I really don't have any desire to go to Hawaii because of the flight, but there's two reasons why I'd want to go to Hawaii. One, to eat some of that Hawaiian food and the Hawaiian cooking, and two, to play some of these golf courses because, I mean, you just can't get more picturesque golf courses than what you got last week at the Tournament of Champions and this week at Sony. I mean, they're just top-notch golf courses. So yeah, I mean, this week we're much smaller course. You do the course right up for FanShare. So why don't you give everybody a good little rundown on what to expect this week at Waialae Country Club?
For sure. Before I do that, I just want to let you know that you will be going to Hawaii. Next time I get married, I will be getting married in Hawaii. So you will be going. Let you know.
All right.
Give it a little bit of
next time you get married, that means there's going to be a next time. I told Melissa, there's no second time for me.
Okay, so Waialae Country Club, it's a beautiful course. Like you already said, it's a short course. It's 7,050 yards. There's only two par fives. They're both reachable by most golfers in the field. You're going to have to there's a few things that are really important at this course. Your approach shots are really important because if you don't hit the green, you're going to be in big, big trouble at this course. The rough around the green is really, really tough. That's pretty much one of the only defenses of this course. It's going to be another birdie fest, so you're going to want that. But ultimately, it's going to break down to a putting contest. I mean, it's wide open fairways again. There's not a lot of trouble on this course. So really, around the green and the wind are going to be the two major defenses of this course. So it's going to boil down to a putting contest. Obviously, that's hard to predict, but you're going to want guys that putt well.
I mean, so we were talking earlier because I obviously I read your article on FanShare, and I was reading some other guys that that I read their tournament preview articles, and everybody's talking about, hitting the fairways. It's a shorter course, but you want to be in the fairways on this course. So, somebody like Bryson DeChambeau, who withdrew, would not be a guy that you'd want as your, core number one guy. So they were talking. A lot of the other articles were talking about driving accuracy, and you were talking about shots gained off the tee. And there is a difference between the two. And I want to get your opinion on why off the tee is more important than just driving accuracy overall when you're building models, whether it's on Fantasy National or you're just putting your basic thought process together. The difference between the two there.
Well, I mean, it's going to depend on the course a lot, but I think Kenny Kim from the Fantasy Golf Degenerates was the one that pointed this out, is that there's been a lot of guys that have won here with driving distance looks like it would stand out, but then there's been a lot of guys that have won here without really having a high percentage of fairways hit. I mean, Justin Thomas, I think it was like 2018, was under 50% of fairways hit when he won. Fabian Gomez in 2018 or 19 was the same way. He was about 50%. So you don't necessarily have to hit fairways here, but you're going to want a combination of fairways hit and driving distance, I think, which is off the tee. So that's why I lean towards off the tee. I actually lean towards off the tee most weeks because I think it's a good combination of both. I don't think you necessarily have to bomb it at any course, and I just like the combination of both, I should say. Like I don't want to like favor one or the other. I like to have full off the tee.
Yeah, I mean, I've changed my models a few times because I'm still pretty new with Fantasy National, but basically, I was comparing, what if I did my model with driving accuracy, and then did my model, took that out, put off the tee, or as it, there's really some consistencies in the two, but then also some not, like Kevin Na, somebody that I know a lot of people like this week. He's not in the model if you have driving accuracy, but if you put off the tee in it, he's in the top 10 of a model. So there's some changes, but there's a lot of similarities in it. But it's a good way if you could pick the stats like off the tee for you that you really like, you can really refine and really get it down pretty close to the best top 10 players to play this week.
For sure. I'm kind of eliminating that. I am weighing off the tee a little bit, but I'm more focused this week honestly on the short game, around the green and on the actual green putting. I think those are the two most important stats. If you look at the guys that have succeeded here, it's guys that putt well. And obviously putting is hard to predict, like we said. But if you have a good short game, I really am going to favor that this week a lot because it's going to be a birdie fest again.
All right, so I'm actually, I mean, I have off the tee or around the green and the short game and stuff like that in my model. But I actually went with off the tee. But I also went with, I went pretty, heavier on the par 4 scoring and the birdies are better gained. Just again, it's going to be a birdie fest. You want guys that are going to score. So I always think anytime you're in a birdie fest or a low scoring event, you're going to want to get some form of birdie action in your model. So I added that in there. And again, sorry, I lost my spot here. Where is it here? Par 4. I mean, 12 par 4s. You want guys that could score and hit those par 4s. So I threw that in there as well. Thoughts on those two stats? And then I got one more stat that I want to ask you about. But those two stats specifically.
Yeah, no, I think both
importance there.
I think both of those are good, especially par 4. I really like because the par 5s are gettable by everybody. So you're gonna see scoring on those holes no matter what. There's only 2 of them. The par 3s are super short too. So I like the idea of par 4 scoring. I didn't put that in my model, but I do like that idea a lot. Another thing is greens and regulation. The greens are really small here, so you're going to want guys that obviously set themselves up to make these putts. So, yeah, I like that. Obviously, birdie or better. Anytime there's a birdie fest, I'm 100% on board with that too.
All right, so something I've noticed in a lot of your articles, and again, you've used Fantasy National a lot more than I have, so I'm still learning. I'm still gaining some knowledge in it, and I don't have it in my model. But I'm using it on a second screen for information. Something you wrote in your article for FanShare was about, the stat DraftKings points. Do you tend to use and focus in on these guys, these players, how they add what the DraftKings points section of it? Do you focus in on that?
I do. I actually use that a lot, especially recent. I use shorter term form for that a lot to check to see how they've been scoring in the past few rounds. I weigh that a lot. That's kind of how I weigh form. I really like that stat a lot, especially in these birdie fests like this, because you can see who's actually scoring. I mean, everybody's going to make birdies, yes, but you want the guys that are going to be at the top of the birdie list. So I think that's a huge stat.
So again, like I said, I'm new with these models and stuff like that. So I've got 3 screens open on 3 different tabs open on my screen. right now while I'm building my core, while I'm building my, maybe, list to play from. I've got my model, which I think it's a pretty fair model. It's going to be different than yours. Everybody's model is going to be different from person to person. So I've got my model, okay? That's the first thing I've got up. The second thing I've got up is just at Waialae Country Club, last 36 rounds, all the overall totals, shots gained total, tee to green, ball striking, DraftKings points, all the stats that we're talking about, just at Waialae. And then also I've got, because I think this is a course that course history will play a factor in, I've got the course history sheet up as well. So I'm taking my model, the overall last 36 at Waialae, and the tournament history. I'm taking all three things into a consideration here. And am I putting too much input on the screen, or do you think that's a three good things to compare when you're building your core group of players?
No, I think that's three good things to compare. I think, especially this early in the season, the stats are going to be a little misleading because obviously, your last 36 rounds or your last 50 rounds for a given golfer could be 4 months, 5 months. Because people haven't played in like a month or two, so it's a little bit misleading right now. So I like that idea of comparing kind of all of them. Another interesting tidbit that I heard this week that I kind of want to share. Kenny Kim said this one too over on Fantasy Golf Degenerates. Is he said that for whatever reason, since the year 2000, there's only been 2 winners here in their 20s. There's been 2 winners in their 20s, 2 winners in their 40s, and all the rest are in their 30s. So you kind of see more experienced guys having success here, which is, it could be a little bit misleading just because of the amount of talent that's in the guys in their 20s right now. But that's an interesting stat. That's not really a short sample size. That's a 20-year sample size we're talking.
Honestly, so just on a side note, I've decided to cut back my betting this year. I'm focusing in on the DraftKings. I've always had more success on the fantasy side of it than the betting side of it. So I've limited myself. Now, majors aside, when the Masters comes up, all betting rules are out the thing. I'm gonna, as always, bet $1 million. Go over the top. But I've only got 5 bets this week, and I have no idea what any of their ages are whatsoever. So no clue there whatsoever on the ages. That's interesting though, because I missed that one.
Yeah, he said that one. I didn't even know that until he said it, which is really interesting.
Like I said, I wish I
guys in their 30s just do what better.
I made 3 outright bets and 2 first round. So that's what I've decided. I've decided that this year, instead of getting 10 top 10s, 5 top 20s, all these different bets, and just going overboard every week and not really being able to track it, I'm just making 2 first round leader bets every week. And I'm betting 3 outrights every week, and that's all I'm doing betting because I've had my success in the DraftKings, and I seem to be making money on it, but then losing it because I'm spending way too much time going overboard on the betting, and I don't know. The odds just don't work for me. I just don't do it. So that's just what I'm just sticking to that this year. But let's get to the core. Let's get to the lineups on DraftKings here. So this is our second episode of the year. The first time we've been able to really break down a tournament. For those of you that are new listeners, what we tend to do on this show is we'll break down each tournament, the 10K and above guys, and the 9K guys, and the 8K guys, and so on down the board. We'll talk about the guys we like, that we don't like, and why. So that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to start with now. And unfortunately, the 10K range, and this event in general, there's only, now that Bryson withdrew, there's only 16 of the top 50 golfers in the world rankings that are in this event, which what that tends to do is bring a lot of guys to the term I like to use it, sticker shock prices. Guys that are in the 8Ks are in the 9Ks, guys that are in the 7Ks are in the 9Ks, guys like, Mark Leishman is 10K. It's sticker shock, but you got to be able to take that into account. I'm sure Jax is causing some trouble back there. So we're going to go right into it. Obviously, Jason stepped aside for a second, but Cam Smith, no, it's okay. Yeah, hey, that's life with a kid right there. I don't have it. I just have old man Al scratching at the door. That's it. He can't actually turn the knob without those opposable thumbs. So
my kid came in here and said I lost my pants. That's never good. So
no, not
we're good to go now though.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. When he hits 22 and he tells you that, you'll be like, yeah, cool guy. Yeah, awesome.
Correct. Right. Yeah.
All right, so 10K range and above. Sticker shock on some of these guys. No surprise, Cam Smith is leading this field at 11-2. You got Hideki, you got Webb Simpson, who's great at this course, Sung J.M., and Mark Leishman. I love every single one of those guys. The problem is every single one of those guys is going to handcuff my lineup going forward. So in a week like this, how do you pick and differentiate those 5 top tier guys and on building your line? Because you're going to have to play 1 or 2 of them, maybe even 3 of them spread out over your lineups. But how do you differentiate that and pick when? Do you go with the cheaper guy like Leishman where the sticker shock is? Do you go with Cam Smith, just the hottest golfer and my favorite golfer on tour? Like, how do you differentiate that right there? Everybody's going to be taking Webb
Now
Simpson,
he's your
right?
favorite golfer on tour.
He is.
He's your favorite golfer on tour now.
Bryson's taking a back seat to Cam Smith. I'm going to grow a mullet if I can.
No, I think Cam Smith is really interesting this week, actually, to be honest with you. And our buddies Drew and Rob were talking about this on their show. If he'd have finished second last week, he would have been the highest owned golfer this week by far, right? Okay. But the fact that he won, I think people don't want to go back to the go to the well, I guess you want to call it. So he's going to be an interesting play, and he's the most expensive golfer on the board, which tends to drop ownership a little bit too. So it's really interesting this week. But I like Cam Smith a lot at the top. I don't know how you don't like him the way he's playing right now, like you just said. I think him and Sungjae Im probably stick out the most, although, like you said, you can't really go wrong with any of these guys in this range. But Im played amazing last week. He's been really good too in the fall. So I think I'm probably going to roll with Cam Smith and Sungjae Im in this range. Who are you going with?
Well, I mean, Im, in my model, I built Im rated out as the number 1 golfer this week. Cam Smith is number 2. So that's what I like. I'm just going to stick to the fact that, I mean, obviously Simpson, Leishman, they're all really good plays. But since the other 2, Im and Smith, rated out for way I feel to build, they're going to be my 2 guys that I use the most in this top tier. It's interesting that you said that Cam Smith, I was thinking about that Cam Smith winning might actually lower his ownership. So at least I'm thinking on the same path as the much smarter people like you and Drew and Rob. So, I like hearing that because that means I continue to play my new favorite golfer on tour.
Yeah, I mean, just because he won last week doesn't mean he can't win this week. Doesn't mean he can't win next week. I mean, the dude has been on fire. Like you said, he's been playing great golf.
Yeah.
So obviously we talk about trends a lot on the show and in football too. But I mean, golf is a tricky one too. It's like a guy can be talked up a lot like Cam Smith was last week and come out and win, right? Or the opposite could happen. How often do we see that in golf where it's like everybody loves to say Tony Finau one week and he's going to be 30% owned and he misses the cut. So the next week his ownership drops way down. It's really interesting. So I try not to be too biased. Try to kind of put each week as its own thing. I think that's the best way to go. Each week is its own separate.
I do want to address one name in that top tier. Everybody's really high on Mark Leishman. He graded out in my model really high. He's had success at this course. He's, overall, he's played well at this, at this course, in general. The problem is, why is he grading out so? Like, I think people are overrating him. I mean, in his last 36 rounds, I mean, he's okay at approach. He's okay off the tee. I mean, I think most of the love is because of this course. But honestly, he hasn't played over his last 36 rounds that great at golf. I think a lot of people are overvaluing Mark Leishman. And I know that's also some of the sticker shock on Mark Leishman influencing my thought process there. But am I crazy to think that maybe people are overthinking him and maybe putting too much stock into him this week?
No, I don't think that. I think he's safe. I think that's what people are seeing. I don't know. I mean, he's got a T4 last year here and a T3 in 19. So I think people are seeing he's a golfer too that when he gets it going, especially with the putter, he can get really hot for a little while. So I think he's one of those streakier guys where it's like he's not consistent. We know he's not consistent, but when he does get going with the putter, I think people jump at that chance because they know that could last 3-4 weeks, 3-4 events, and really see something good. So I like him for cash. I like him.
You say he had a 4th and a 3rd, but surrounding that 4th and 3rd, he had a 28th and a 47th also. You don't want a 10K guy just making the cut. You want a 10K guy that's going to finish in the top 5. You know what I mean? So
true.
I kind of see that there's too much risk and reward there to really justify that to me. And that's just where I was thinking at that name.
The biggest thing at this end, I think, because of what you said earlier, that there isn't that much differentiating these guys. You got to look at ownership. Look at ownership on Wednesday night. Make your decision because of that. If one of these guys, like Webb, for example, his course history is amazing here. He's probably going to be super highly owned. So you're going to have to kind of see what people are doing. And if a guy like Cam Smith comes way under owned, that's going to be the play, I think.
Absolutely. I agree with you there. All right. There's a really, really small 9K range this week. You got Kevin Na, Abraham Answer, Corey Connors, Harris English, and Taylor Gooch. That's it. I mean, normally there's a lot more names in that range there. I mean, Kevin Na obviously seems like a guy that would play or perform well here. Abraham Answer, the same thing. They're the names I'm looking at, but also, especially Kevin Na, they're guys that I think that are going to be super highly owned as well, along with Gooch. You know, I think the 9K range. We normally say pivot out of the 10K range down to that 9K range. I almost feel more comfortable staying in the 10K range and then skipping over the 9K range this week.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. Corey Connors plays really well here. He actually putts like ridiculously well here, which is funny because he's such a bad putter. But his last 2 times here were a T12 and a T3, so I think he's going to be super highly owned this week. Gooch, I love Gooch. I kind of have pivoted, kind of followed Rob's lead on that one. I really like Taylor Gooch too, but I think I'm going to start a lot of my lineups in the 10s too, so I don't know how much of the 9K range I'm really going to have this week, to be honest with you. Kisner's an interesting one. He's popped here a few times. If he's going to he's 8,900 actually, sorry. But yeah, I'm probably going to skip over this range for the moment.
Just jump right to the 8K range, Don't worry about the 9K range.
89. I was just rounding.
And even the 8K range, there's not a whole hell of a lot of names in the 8K range either. If there's a lot of cheaper names because of the lighter field. So you say Kevin Kisner at 89 is the name you like. You got Horschel, you got Kokrak, you got Russell Henley. I've heard a lot of talk about him this week. Matt Jones, Maverick McNeely, EVR, Seamus Powers, and my pick. I don't know. I'm going to have to check the ownership percentages. I don't know if you got any projections on it, but I always talked about last year. You play Charles Howell at Charles Howell courses, and Charles Howell loves this course. And as long as his ownership percentage is going to be even remotely decent, you better believe that I'm going to be playing a lot of Charles Howell this week.
Yeah, I like Howell too this week. Seamus Powers is an interesting one. He's missed his last 2 cuts here, but he's a different player now. I think that he, on this course, can really pop. He finished second in my model, so I like him a lot this week. Matt McNeely is interesting to me. I don't think he's ever played this course. No, he's never played this course before, 8,300, but this just kind of seems like a Matt McNeely course, like a birdie fast, easier course. These are the kind of courses that he eats up. So I actually love the 8K range this week.
So do I.
So I'm going to do a lot of my line.
In my core pool, I've got Power and McNeely both. And Charles Howell, all 3 of them. So I got 3 of my top 10 guys that I want to play this week, all in the 10K range. Again, Charles Howell, at this event, so he's finished 19th, 12th, 8th, and 32nd. That's some pretty strong course history. And if you could guarantee me a top 20 out of an 8K guy, he fits the bill at this course 110%. And I won't play Charles Howell again until he's at another course that's, a Charles Howell's course. If you play Charles Howell at Charles Howell places, it's a Charles Howell place.
Yeah.
You got to play.
He's one of those guys that, like, you play him, I feel like, January, February, and March, in Hawaii and then the California swing, and then you stop playing him. You don't even touch him the rest of the year after that. He always, every year, does the same thing. Yeah. Plays well at the very beginning, and then you never hear from him.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I fell into that Charles Howell trap last year. I played him a lot early, and then later in the year I didn't get away from him like I should have. And no, that's good. So we're in agreement in the 8K range for sure. So definitely in agreement there. All right, so let's get into the 7K range. A lot of names. We'll almost just start with the top half even. You got Brendan Steele, you got Chris Kirk, Ryan Palmer, Bazutenhoot, Siwoo Kim, who I just mentioned, Aaron Ray, Mitchell, Dahman, Ho, Todd, Harmon. That's just all Kuchar, all 7,500 and above. That's not even looking at below 7,500. A lot of names there. Any names that jump out at you? I don't have any of those guys in my core 10, but I got a lot of those names in my maybe plays that I can't quite put my finger on whether they're smart plays or not.
So I love this range, to be honest with you, the top part of the 7Ks. Brendan Steele, a 4th and a 2nd his last 2 times here. Kirk has, he's made 2 of his last 5 cuts here, but they were a T2 and a T10. So I like him a lot. Bazutenhoot, I love him. I'll be all over him this week. Aaron Raisin.
I kind of feel like he might be a little overpriced.
Yeah, I like Ray a lot, and I also like Keith Mitchell.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I love this range. I like all these guys, to be honest with you. I think that Yeah, Zayden Hoot's probably my favorite play in this range, but I like a lot of this range. Keith Mitchell's an interesting one, too. He has a pretty good course history, too. He's made 3 or 4 cuts here, a T14, a T16, and a T25. So I think there's a lot of value in this range. Who do you like in this range?
Well, I mean, I had Kirk written down. He was my main guy I wrote down. I wrote down Matt Kuchar. He's got terrible tournament history, but his stats seem to fit this type of course. So that's why he's in my maybe list. He's the type of guy that should perform well here, but doesn't perform well here. So that's why I was kind of I got more of the lower 7K guys, listed than the upper 7K guys, and it's because it just doesn't seem to match up some of the information. So like someone like Matt Kuchar, should but doesn't. Like I said, I love Kirk just like you as well. But I got more in the lower end of the guys that I'm looking at in this range.
So who do you like in the lower half?
Yeah, I'm getting it. Sorry, you're moving too fast for me. Denny McCarthy. He's a guy that hits checks a lot of boxes for me this week. I've also got Keegan Bradley, 74. So I think you mentioned him, but I kind of like him this week. Brian Stewart, 7,200. Like him a lot this week. And there's another name here. Honestly, he has graded out in everything I've done so far. I don't even know who he is. I've never heard of the guy, but he's grading out in pretty much everything I do. He's never played here before, so that's the downside to him there. But in my model, let me bring it up on my model here. He fell in my model. What?
Chad Ramey?
Nope. Alex Smalley. He's 7K. He's never played here. He ranked 10th in my model. Well, 9th because Bryson's still in it. He's 30th in approach in his last 36 rounds, 8th in shots gained total, 7th in par 4 scoring, 14th in birdie or better. He just seems to be, somebody that I just don't get it. I don't know anything about this guy. But if the models are to be trusted, shouldn't I play the guy then?
I like him. I know he's been talked up a little bit today on some podcasts that I've listened to. So I definitely like him. I do like Chad Ramey too. He's another guy. He's 7,100. He's just really solid. He's just a cut maker. And at 7,100, that's really all you need him to do. So I really like that play a lot. Another one that who I love. I love him every week. You know this. Stewie Sink. He has really good course history here, and he didn't play well last week at all. But I pretty much go back to the well. This is a guy. Yeah, that's priced this low, so I like him. I'm going to play a lot of Stewart Sink.
Okay, all right. No, that's good. So what do you think about when a guy let's go back to Matt Kuchar for a second. When a guy like Matt Kuchar, everything tells you that they should play well. And this is more theory than this tournament specifically. But everything says a guy should perform well, but then on a specific course they just don't. Is it just bad luck? Is it because it's the beginning of the year? Is it you just stay away from them? Because do you know what I'm getting at with that question there? Like, how do you justify going one way or another? They grade out well, but they don't have, great success. Or somebody like Smalley, grades out well, but's never played here before. How do you justify going back and forth on that there?
You know what? Kuchar's a weird example, too, because he has a win and then 2 missed cuts. So it's like literally opposite ends of the spectrum here. So it's interesting. I don't mind the Kuchar play this week. I agree with you. This is a course that Kuchar could play really well on. I mean, he's a solid player. He doesn't do anything amazing, but he's just solid. He's going to find the fairway. He usually putts okay, and he seems like he would make sense on this course.
Yeah, I just don't know. I'm trying to figure out the reason behind missed cut after missed cut when every stat says he should dominate at a course like this. But that's the thing. You've got to trust your models to an extent, or the stats or your gut, however you want to look at it. So that's that. So a lot of 10K guys and above that we like this week. That means you're going to have to pull some 6K guys out of your, out there to balance out your lineup. I don't care where you go in the 6K lineup or 6K range. I mean, Hank Lebioda is a guy that I always loved playing last year. Eventually, he slowed down a little bit. Rory Sabatini, he actually grades out half decently here, and has got some really good success here. It's a name I'm looking at this week. Oh, and Swafford. They're the 3 names I'm mainly looking at in this range. Any of those guys jump out at you?
Swafford does for sure. He's my favorite guy actually in the 6K range. I like him a lot this week. I'm going to be looking for guys in this range that putt well. I think that's my strategy that I'm going to go with this week. I just not a lot pops out to me, to be honest with you. There's some names that do, but I think Swafford's my favorite play in this range. Yeah, probably by far too. Snedeker's an interesting one too because he's had kind of a mixed bag at this course. 2 out of 4 made cuts, but the 2 made cuts were a T12 and a T16. So he's interesting. He was actually absolutely garbage, for the past probably year and a half, but he's an interesting one. I'm gonna to be honest with you, I'm gonna try as hard as I can to not go into the 6K range this week.
Okay, that's fair. You know me. I love going down to like the 6,000, 6,100. And find that random guy. I don't even remember who was the guy I had last year. I know I had my man
Austin Eckert or something. We thought it was Austin Eckler, but it was Austin.
It wasn't Austin Eckler. No, it was somebody else. So this guy does not absolutely. Let me repeat. In my model, he finishes almost dead last in my model. But you say putting matters in his last 36 rounds compared to the current people. He's 16th in putting. So. Putting important. This guy's important at this course. So the way I did it, I went and I looked at shots gained total at this course over the last 5 years, and this guy is the only one in the 6,500 range and below that's actually gained strokes total at this course. He's made the cut 4 out of 5 times here, including a 13th and a 22nd. He's 6,100, and his name is Brian Gay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
which seems like it would make sense, right?
Yeah, he's a putter.
He finds a lot of fairways, and his short game's awesome. Yeah, exactly. I didn't even think about him. That's a good call. I like that call.
6,100, Brian Gay. Like I said, so last year he finished 72nd, but at 6,100, making the cut, that's all that matters, right? As long as you're going to get something out of it. 2019, 22nd place, 2018, 58th, and in 2017 he had a 13th here. He did miss the cut in 2020, but I mean. He's also in this field, at Waialae, he ranks 41st in DraftKings points. So he's also scoring points because he's making the cut almost every single week. That is my steal of the week. Brian Gay will make the cut. Maybe now all of a sudden, as the juices are flowing, as we're breaking down numbers here, all of a sudden now I want to go back and add another bet of Brian Gay making the cut. Even though I just said I'm only making 5 bets. I've made my 5 bets. I'm done for the week. But now I want to go back and make a Brian Gay makes the cut bet. All of a sudden, my mind's just completely changed there.
I like that call. I didn't even consider him, to be honest with you. But, it seems like he would fit this course, like we said. And if he finishes 30th place, that's a huge win for you. So, I like that.
That's finishes 30th place. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Ready to get to building some lineups here?
Yeah, hopefully I can do a little better than last week, and you blew me out of the water.
I've got a little cheat sheet. I am keeping track of all my bets, everything, and our head-to-head / 3-way when we have guests on. I am tracking it this year. I am going to make it official. I'm going to make a Google Doc or something so that I have a better way. I don't have to just have chicken scratch here. But yeah, as the loser, you get to go first. Losers go first. That's my new rule this year.
Oh, Phil. All right. I'm going to start my lineup. I'm going to go Sanjay Im.
Okay.
10,300, just like his upside. When he's playing well, his iron game is awesome. If he can putt, I think he can win here. So I like that a lot. I'm going to go with Corey Connors, 9,600. Seems to always putt well at this course, which is weird because he cannot putt anywhere else.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hit this whole touch screen thing. Sometimes I just I got fat fingers, so it's hard sometimes to use the touch screen,
I'm going to go my man, Christian Bezuidenhout. Man, I'm a little rusty saying his name, but Bezuidenhout. Yep.
I just write down B.
I'm going to go.
That explains it all.
I'm going to go Hudson Swafford.
Okay.
And then I'm going to finish off in the 7K range. I'm going to go Keith Mitchell, 7,600. Likes this course. I like him on Bermuda greens.
Okay.
And then I'm going to finish with Aaron Rye. Just a solid, consistent golfer. Hopefully he can make the cut.
There we go. That's good. I actually looked at him because he's a guy that I liked it from time to time last year. And I saw him in the thing. Something stood out to me that that I took him out of my maybe list. I'm not sure what it was. Let's see. Overall here, 83rd. Doesn't do anything spectacular there. Maybe he just didn't stand out as spectacular enough for his price. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, he's never actually played here.
Nope.
Or in this event. So maybe that's why I took him out. I don't know. He just didn't stand out to me. Actually, in my model, he came in 57th. Actually, let's add him to my list. Maybes. There we go. All right.
He's just one of those guys that he's kind of like a young Matt Kuchar. Like doesn't do anything spectacular, but just a really solid cut maker.
All right.
So he'll probably miss the cut.
Yeah, exactly. No. That's so you got Sungjae Im, Corey Connors, Bazudenhout, Mitchell, Rye, and Swafford. It's a strong lineup. I actually may enter that in one of my, my builds this week, because again, I love having Im. I love Connor, Bazudenhout. They're all really great names. Swafford's on my list already. The only name that you picked that isn't even in my maybes was Rye. So I like that lineup a lot, actually. So strong lineup. That means I got to be extra strong in my game here. So we're going to start with Gay, just to completely say I'm got to be strong and then go with the weakest guy in the field. That's really a smart way to build a lineup. And then, of course, my guy Charles Howell has to be in my lineup.
I am going to play also. You're very convincing. You're very convincing in your argument for him. So I'm gonna also play Brian Gay this week. I'll be honest with you. He'll be in my player pool.
I think that's. I mean, look at that. I just went Gay and Howell at 61 and 8. I got almost 9K left still for 4 guys. I mean, that's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, you want that much left, Then I'm going to go McNeely. And now I got 9,200 for 3 guys left. I mean, I got a lot of money left on the table here. But I'm going to go Cam Smith, which is going to crush my money. Let's see here. Now I got 8,200. I got to check my notes here, see where I'm left with here. You already went with him. Try not to double up on any of your guys because it's just head-to-head here. Let's see here. We'll go same as Power. And then let me see what my last guy is. And I think Power is another guy he's not going to break out to the Cam Smith level, but I think he's going to have a really, really strong season on tour. I don't think that's an overstretch to say. Last year, in big fields, he was in the 6K range, and in strong fields, he was in that 8 to 9K range. I think by the end of the season, Seamus Power, he's going to be a guy that's always in the 8K range, 79, 81, in that 83 range. I just think that's the way it's going to work out. And we're going to go Chris Kirk as my final guy on my list here. Yeah. So we're going Gay, Hal. I got to write it down. McNeely. All right. So that's my lineup there. I hope I don't lose you a lot of money with that Brian Gay play. That's all I can say.
No, at 6,100, that's definitely worth it.
All he's got to do is make the cut. I want to look up. I can't look it up right now. I only have one computer right now going. I would love to look it up and see what Brian Gay's numbers are to make the cut, to finish in the top 40 and stuff like that. Because I think it's a sneaky bet. It's a sneaky play, and I have luck at these things. The what was the Sean O'Hare making the cut bet I made last year. That worked out for me. I just got these random feelings sometimes on these weaker fields. And Brian Gay, that's the play this week. That's for sure.
Okay, if that's the play, then you're like the weak play whisperer. So I like it.
I guess I don't know. Is that my new name, the weak play whisperer? I don't know. I just find these random guys that
That really doesn't sound like that. That really doesn't sound like that good of a thing. Weak play whisperer.
What? Yeah,
we'll find a better name for it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. I just got this random good luck. Like I can't pick a winner, but I could pick a guy that shouldn't make the cut that makes the cut for some reason. I don't know. It's just it's just the way it works out.
You picked a winner last week. You picked a winner last week. Take that back.
I'm curious. What are the odds if I bet 1 unit on Cam Smith to win every single event this year? Okay, individually, and say he wins 4 events, say this year. I wonder what kind of a profit margin that turns.
I don't know. That's interesting. Did you see that stat?
That's one of our really
kind of along the same line.
That works out.
There was a stat that came out about same thing like that, like about Colin Morikawa last year, or I don't know if it was his entire career or just last year. But if you would have bet $100 on every tournament he played, you would have been up 10K for his career. Yeah. Pretty solid.
Yeah, I have to think about that. I might have to reach out to like Brian or Rob or Drew, one of the bigger bettors than me, and see what the odds are and what kind of a payout you would get over the course of a year, and whether it'd be worth it. Because I'm that confident in Cam Smith winning multiple events this year. So yeah. All right. Do you have any bets this week? Have you made any bets this week yet?
No, I have not. So I am kind of in the same boat as you. Is I am not good at golf betting, so I don't know what my strategy is. I did have some success last year on top 20, so I may do that again, or I may just focus on DFS. I'm not sure yet.
In the first half of the year, I had a lot of success on outright winners. I think I had like 3 or 4 outright winners, by the Masters. So, and then I just never hit another outright winner the rest of the year. And I finished second at least 10 times for like my first round leader bets. I had so many second place. Is there a bet to get second place first round? Because I seem to get that a lot. But yeah, so what I'm doing is, I'm obviously, for those that are new to the show, I'm a small time bettor. I don't bet 20, 30, 150, dollars per bet. I'm a couple bucks here and there. So I've got 3 outright bets this week. And I only bet $1 on each one because I'm small. I'm a small fry in a big pond. But I've got Sung AM at 17-1. Yes, you love my little jokes about those kind of things. I know. I'm here to entertain you. So Sung AM 17-1. I got Power at 46-1 on Power, and I got Charles Howe III at 55-1. So I've got a favorite in Sung AM, and I got 2 middle to long shot bets there to win the event. So that's what that is. And then I got 2 first round leaders. I got Mark Leishman and I got Brian Stewart. Leishman's 34-1 first round leader, and Brian Stewart's 80-1 first round leader. I only bet I bet 50 cents on each of them. So I did not go crazy on those first round leader bets or anything like that. But that's it. They're my bets. Power, Charles Howe, and Leishman and Stewart first round leaders. But that's it. And then, like I said, I did say I was going to bet a little bit more. So maybe I go find what the Brian Gay making the cut is, because that's next. That's the next bet I add to my list there.
I like the power bet a lot. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, at 46-1, I think it's a really strong bet. And Charles Howe, the Charles Howe 55-1 bet, I don't know if that's necessarily, is he going to win it? But if he comes out, I love hedging my bets. I love cashing out early. If Charles Howe is in the top 3 or 5 or 10 after the first round, and they offer me a cash out on that, I'm looking to cash out early on Charles Howe. Him to come out, have a great first round or 2, cash it out, and then not sweat him winning the event for big money, on Sunday when he's not going to be able to compete with the big guns that are in the lead on Sunday. So I'm more looking for
sure
those, long shots to just hedge it and cash out early when they're offering that bet there.
Yeah, I like that strategy too a lot. Yeah, love the power bet though. I'm a big fan of that one.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. So anything else to add to this before we wrap this shebang up this week?
No, I don't think so. Monitor ownership, like we talk about every single week. Don't build your lineups on Tuesday. Wait until Wednesday. Wait till you see what exactly is going to happen. See, especially at the top end. I really like doing that. See what these guys are going to be, and then kind of differentiate yourself from that.
It's so important to differentiate yourself with that stuff. You don't want you just don't want to take, if Cam Smith comes in and the projections say Cam Smith's going to come in, higher ownership than we expect, and maybe I slide off of him a little bit there. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, Cam Smith could win this event, so you also have to take into account ownership percentage. But so just making numbers up here. If a guy wins the event versus not winning the event, so Cam Smith at 20%, if he wins the event, is he worth the 20% ownership versus if he doesn't win the event at 20% ownership? Do you know what I'm getting at? If I really feel strongly that Cam Smith can win this event, 20% is worth it, versus if I think he finishes outside the top 10, then it's not worth it. So you kind of got to also weigh how strong you feel about a player in a week, especially in a weak field like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, trust your process. I mean, it's tough to pick winners. Obviously, we know that. But if you are, don't fade a guy just to fade him. I think that's the biggest thing. And don't play a guy just because everybody else is playing him. If you can find good pivots off the guy that everybody's playing, do that by all means. But if you think you can't find a pivot that's along the same lines, then it's okay to play chalk. You don't have to fade every chalk. There is good chalk.
And don't play everybody just
because there's a lot of smart people.
Don't play Brian Gay just because I said to. I mean, I don't want his ownership going from 0.1% to 0.5% this week just because I said so. Brian
The good
Gay's
news
gonna go
is that our
he's going to go from 0.1 to 30%, and everybody's going to flood my mentions. What the hell? We all bet Brian Gay because you told us to.
luckily, I don't think our reach is that far, so I think we're going to be all set on that one.
Magically, nobody listens to our show, or not enough people do, compared to some of the other golf shows out there. You hitched your star to the wrong wagon, Jason. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, at least we're good friends.
Yeah, hey,
could be worse.
One of these days, one of us will win big, and one of us will take the other on a really awesome vacation to Clearwater, right?
Yeah.
Or Hawaii. I better hit big to save for your second wedding when we got to go to Hawaii. I better start saving now for that trip. So on that note, we're going to wrap up Fairway to Heaven week 2.
I was going to say something, but I'm just not going to.
No. Okay, that's fine.
No.
We'll cut the show off at that point. Again, Fairway to Heaven right here on DSM Media State. Make sure you smash that like and share and subscribe button for us. Help us continue to grow. Help us gain more followers by smashing those like, share, and subscribe buttons. More people will view. We'll be able to get more great sponsors like we have right now. Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming products. Manscaped.com, promo code DFS. Get you 20% off and free shipping. And our great partners at Fantasy National, the best model making system on the market today. Make sure you check them out. And if you follow them and if you check their model out and you sign up for it, just let them know that Fairway to Heaven sent you. We would greatly appreciate the support. So everybody have a great Tuesday night. The Sony Open, another picturesque, fun weekend event that we'll be watching around football this weekend. There's great playoff football this weekend, but golf always takes king to us, right? Especially when Detroit's not in the playoffs. So, yeah, absolutely. Anyway, everybody have a great weekend. Have a great night. And, we'll talk to you next week.